my name is Ivy Hunter and I'm here to present the Mineral Brick Road, why you need to have minerals in your body and how important it is, and how I as a nutrition consultant and nutritionist will test for these things to find out if this is the reason and what's going on with your mineral balances so that we can get those in check. A lot of times you'll see what it may cause and what you might be already suffering and how it can benefit you. So minerals are really the backbone of your metabolism, all the tissues, all the cell walls, the ongoing metabolic processes, even muscle contraction, it all depends on minerals. Minerals are so important. Testing will show you if you have toxic metals, mineral absorption issues, imbalances, dietary needs, that you need more or less of a certain mineral, maybe even too much exposure of one that knocks the other out of whack. And endocrine balance is also discovered through mineral testing. Now, our goals in this particular video is to cover what's needed, our necessary basic minerals. We'll cover some toxic metals and what it can cause in your body, what kind of symptoms you'll experience, and what kind of things that can be done with supplementing and testing. Testing is basically a basic hair sample from the nape of the neck submitted to a lab. This is using a federally licensed clinical lab. They perform over 150,000 tests a year, and they're peer-reviewed. There's more than 1,500 peer-reviewed evidence-based works and studies done on the accuracy of the hair mineral analysis test, and in the past 20 years it has become very accurate. And a wonderful thing about that is it's a lot like computers. Think of the smartphone and just how long it took to get the changes done and how far computers have come in the last 20 years. So has this equipment. Hair mineral analysis testing has really come a long way. So there are some critics out there that say it's not good, it's not worth it, and that actually dates back 20 years and prior, when it was really being worked out. So the United Nations National Environmental Agency selected a hair analysis. The United Nations Environmental Agency selected hair analysis as the most accurate test and for biological monitoring. And it's been done for over 100 years. And the equipment we use is an atomic absorption spectrophotometer and a inductively coupled plasma emission spectroscopy. So since the 1970s it's been more and more accurate and reliable. So now the Designs for Health has proven accuracy, and that's a lab that I'm recommended to use, and it's even proven accurate when you try to fool it. So yes, there have been studies done where we take the hair of the same person, submitted under different names, even the hair from the same person, and submitted under different labs. And it has come back accurate. Same results each time. This is an accurate test, and it's a really good indicator of any kind of imbalance. Let's move on here. Now we have our needed minerals. Number one is calcium. Calcium is a good indicator of bone and nerve and cellular health. And it's an important pH buffering mineral. Low levels can cause hyperactivity, allergies, hypertension, insomnia, calf muscle cramps. And high levels indicate susceptibilities to viruses. It can also indicate the psychological problems, mood swings, muscle aches and pain, frequency and urgency of the bladder, urination, and it can also indicate the cause of fatigue, low blood pressure, suppressed thyroid susceptibility even, and that's your endocrine function there. And let's see our next mineral, chromium. This is vital for human health. It balances the blood sugar and it helps with the cholesterol metabolism in the body. And the chromium really is about the blood sugar. The insulin response is supported by chromium. It's a balancing mineral, and it requires several cofactors. So now it does help to lower your cholesterol to have chromium, but not just as any old supplement. Chromium needs to be in balance, in a nice balance. So if you're working on using chromium for any of these reasons, you really need a hair mineral analysis test to find out if you're out of balance first, because you might not need to go out and spend all that money on all these supplements and all these minerals. It's not even a good idea to take minerals without knowing whether you're in balance. If you're taking a mineral that you're already in excess of, it can actually cause harm. So you don't want to do that. You just want to go get your test done. Now, chromium also slows the aging process when it's in balance. And it requires a cofactor of minerals to support the balance, along with dietary measures. And if you are out of balance, your nutritionist will be able to suggest the foods and things that you will need to add to your diet to get it into balance, because it's going to be several things, not just supplementing one, but it's actually several supportive things working together to bring that balance to you. The next is copper. The hair mineral analysis is potentially the only test that shows copper toxicity. The blood is not a good indicator of toxic copper levels, because copper is stored in the tissues and it's not circulating at all times. It's something that affects our body from the inside out, from the inside of the cells out. And so when we're toxic, we just keep storing it into the cells, storing it in the fat, storing it in the tissues, and it builds up, but it's not necessarily in the blood. So the hair mineral analysis is the only way to go for copper. And copper toxicity leads to, the symptoms can include fungal infections. It's high because fungal infections are typically related to candida overgrowth, and candida is a place for our body to dump copper, and it will thrive because our body will create a condition that supports candida so that it has a place to dump the copper. And so you could have these fungal infections. It's an indicator of a subclinical mercury toxicity as well, because candida also does the same thing, binds with the cell walls to mercury, and of all things. But let's see, copper over toxicity, too much, can cause excessive PMS and carb cravings, acne, chronic stress, metal toxicities from other metals, and pesticide poisoning is also a cause of high toxicity. You could have symptoms like allergies, anxiety, anemia, depression, fatigue, headaches, mood swings, feeling spaced out. We said candida overgrowth, yeast infections, and arthritis. These are all symptoms of a toxic mineral state. So these are also symptoms of other toxic mineral states and conditions. So this is where and why testing is so important. You don't want to just guess. There's no guesswork when you have a test. So when copper is low, there's a possibility of nerve damage, hair loss, excessive aging, osteoporosis, low estrogen production, arthritis, and excessive bacterial infections again. And that's bacteria, not fungal, when it's low. So a diet, that copper can be balanced by the right use of some supportive minerals and foods that are recommended through a nutritionist who has these adaptogenic herbs, supplements, and dietary measures that you can take on hand. Our next, iron. The hair analysis is actually not a good level indicator of iron toxicity. It's best with a blood test. So if you're only suspecting iron problems with iron, too much iron, then You can go out and get a blood test through your doctor. Usually that is covered by most all insurance, and it's called a transferrin saturation, and that's your best indicator test. But you can also have a hematocrit test, and it's a serum ferritin test. Now, there's a good clinical significance to iron levels, so it's important because the main concern is with toxicity and too much iron, something that you can be exposed to. It's relatively rare. It can, lowering that condition can actually create an anger awareness, because toxicity with iron in the blood can trigger anger emotions, but during the detoxification of the iron from the body and blood, it can actually trigger this anger awareness. So the other thing is food sources of iron that you might want to look to if you're low on iron includes black walnut, and I'm just going to list the vegan options because we all know the rest, and you can probably Google the rest, but throughout this whole video, I'm going to let you know the vegan options, plant-based areas where everyone else gets it, all the other animals get it, all the vegan animals. So we have black walnut, sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, spinach, soybeans, and my family's favorite, molasses. And lowering high iron is really a process using several minerals, nutrients, and adaptogenic herbs to remove the toxic state. Magnesium is high, and well, low usually. Magnesium levels are low, and it's due to high excretion of the magnesium under stress, and other high mineral levels like calcium could be high, and then that could be triggering the magnesium to be excreted more and be low. There's a balance the body maintains between the calcium and magnesium, and in diabetic conditions they often reflect one another, and when they don't, it indicates a problem. The nutritionist is looking for this, but what you might realize is the signs and symptoms of the low magnesium levels include the crampings of the hands and feet, irritable, moody, noise sensitivity, and excess body odor, anxiety, and a short temper, including other signs mentally, like the inability to concentrate and brain fog. So low levels can be triggered by too much stress, alcohol, exercise, diuretics, thyroid, parathyroid malfunction, and other things. So food sources of magnesium, we get magnesium from certain nuts, green leafy vegetables, chocolate, sea vegetables, especially kelp, and soybeans. Our manganese is an important mineral. It's actually a very good indicator, and I'm not going to cover much about it, but it really plays a role in development. So if you're considering having a child, and a hair mineral analysis would be a really good thing to do before considering having a child if you're planning your family. And the hair analysis is the best test to determine your manganese levels, so it plays a role in development. Phosphorus is accurate in our hair analysis test. It's the best test to get your phosphorus levels. It may increase temporarily due to the detoxification program. Usually it's a short-term thing, and it's not a clinical significantly damaging process that goes on. It actually gets released from the cells as they release other toxins, and your phosphorus levels go up. It's somewhat hard to get phosphorus in food, but it's not impossible. There's phosphorus that can be obtained through the parsnip greens and parsnips as well. Low levels on your hair mineral analysis test might indicate the poor protein synthesis, manufacturing the protein cell membrane around your cells. That can be detrimental to the health of the cells. And it can also indicate zinc deficiency, cadmium toxicity, and poor digestion of protein, along with a possible reason for that, which is the low stomach acid. So Phosphorus food sources we've covered includes some black teas as well. Now our next is my favorite, selenium. Selenium is the most powerful anti-cancer mineral ever studied. It's a powerful antioxidant on its own. As a mineral, it's an antioxidant, and it really plays a huge role in what you can Google, glutathione peroxidase enzymes. So it's promoting these enzymes, which are so beneficial to our health. It works as an anti-inflammatory nutrient. It's needed for the conversion of thyroid hormone T3 to T4. During that conversion, selenium is definitely needed, and it is heart cardioprotective, so it's really good for the heart. Now, if it's out of balance, that's when you need supplementing. It's not something that you go, oh wow, it has all these good things, I'm gonna go take a whole bunch. Just make sure you get enough in your diet, and you'll be fine. As long as you're not extremely low. Now, the food sources include the Brazil nuts, cashews, and walnuts grown in selenium-rich soil. And it's important to remember, grown in selenium-rich soil. So Brazil actually has selenium-rich soil, so the nuts that come from Brazil typically do have your daily value in about 3 ounces of nuts, or 5 Brazil nuts will have your daily value needed. But the daily value is basically 400 micrograms a day at the most. And that's a tiny little bit, but that's very, very important. And the hair mineral analysis can be skewed by selenium-rich dandruff shampoos. And over the time of your detox, it can take weeks to years to raise the level to an appropriate level if you're really low on selenium. Our last one is zinc, and zinc is used by nutritionists through a zinc to copper ratio to determine heavy metal toxicity and other exposures that may be damaging to your health. If the copper is high and the zinc is high, it's due to a displacement of the mineral by toxic metals like lead, and it indicates low zinc bioavailability to the body. So it's packed away in the hair and the tissue to where it's not accessible. It's flaking away on the top part of your skin because it's being stored there. It's being displaced. Now, this kind of toxic metals exposure indicates low zinc bioavailability, and it's usually helps to determine how long your supplementation for zinc should be and how much it's needed. And if you're with a nutritionist working with them, they may offer you a zinc challenge test, and that zinc challenge test will help you determine if your zinc levels are balancing, so you don't have to get retested for at least another 3 to 6 months. Toxic minerals are any mineral or metal that can be absorbed by the body, just like toxins. It's anything that can be absorbed that causes poor health. It's that simple. That's a toxin. Toxic metals and toxic minerals are any metal or mineral that is absorbed by the body through the skin, through the air, through the gut, anything that causes bad health. And hair mineral analysis is a very reliable indicator of the presence of toxic minerals. There are many sources of toxic metals, including cadmium from cigarette smoke, lead from hair dyes, nickel from hydrogenated oils, aluminum from antiperspirants and cookware, especially when you're using cookware to cook greens, tomatoes, anything with vinegar or wine, anything that has a pH less than 7. Dental amalgams can give you mercury and cadmium and copper waste. Copper water pipes can give you an excess toxicity of copper. And lead can be found in cosmetics. Aluminum, our first aluminum, can be found in antidepressants, makeup, baking powder, cookware, and foil. And it's hard for the body to excrete, so it can lead to irreparable damage of the nerves, and by the time you're experiencing damage, it can be irreparable, but you can put a stop to it by modifying your diet, by following a detoxification strategy that focuses on removing the reabsorption of these minerals as they're being excreted. Just as important as eating detoxifying foods, it's equally important to prevent reabsorption of those toxins. So two parts together in one program is what I've created with my Cleanse for Clarity, and it's completely individualized. It's my individualized approach to correcting these imbalances like I have done with myself. So I would be using adaptogenic herbs and nutrients along with mineral and antagonists. The nutritionist is able to clear out a backlog of aluminum. Cadmium, which is our second here, it's got cigarette smoke, cigarette papers, air pollution, industrial pollution, hair dyes or other dyes, dye agents, and glaze found on ceramics that say not for food use, and then the sticker eventually peels off and we use it for food use. And cadmium toxicity is linked to kidney disease and all stages of cancer, carcinogenesis in the body. It's critical to keep cadmium levels low at all times. It's a toxic metal. You don't want it to be high at any time. It can cause hypertension, and it can also cause aggressive emotional imbalances. So cadmium detoxification can increase the effects of cadmium toxicity symptoms while you're detoxing. And this is why it's so important to have a detoxification strategy that really focuses on preventing the reabsorption of the minerals that are being excreted, so that you don't have these long-term downtime, long-term prolonged or increased toxic symptoms. Lead is absorbed through the skin. Lead can come from paint, ceramic glaze, hair dyes, old pencil leads, industrial contact, and glass fusing or glass firing. Lead's absorbed through the skin and lungs and through the gut. It accumulates in the nervous system and in the bones. So when being excreted, it can cause fatigue because it's coming out of the nerves or nervous system storage areas, and it can cause bone pain, and that's because it's being drawn out from the bones, and that can be a painful process. So another reason why you want to have a strategic plan that focuses on preventing resorption. Lead is toxic in children. It can lead to developing learning disabilities, and it can also do that for adults. Mood disorders and attention problems are the most common sign, brain fog. And removal can be done using several different strategic dietary and supplemental antagonists, and as well as certain vitamins that help to remove the lead. Mercury, our last here, you can see that it is found in silver fillings. It's found in paint, fish, and seawater that have been, including oysters that have been farmed in an area high in mercury. And it can come from water, it can come from makeup, and of course the antique hats. Matt is a hatter. There was an occupational hazard to being a hatter when mercury was used as a stiffening agent for fabric. So really the only toxic part of mercury is the methylated version. It's when it comes into contact with any biological source, but that happens once it gets into our body. It becomes extremely toxic, and it can also become extremely toxic in the soil because it's sitting there, it's interacting with bacteria from the soil. So once in the body, the mercury can become toxic, and so we have mercury in our amalgam fillings. Now it's not toxic when they put it in there, but as it interacts and off-gasses, and that off-gassing is actually absorbed by the lungs, and once it's in our body, it's interacting and it's methylating. And what happens is it becomes extremely toxic. And so mercury is not something you really want in your body. If you do have amalgam fillings and you want to get them out, don't just go to any dentist. You have to do that strategically as well. Do your homework, find a dentist that is skilled in removing mercury amalgam fillings. So it needs to be using safe approved methods that can be beneficial, and the nutritionist will help you remove that backlog of mercury levels. And these toxic levels have been shown by the symptoms of sensitivity, learning disorders, and low levels of mercury in the body, even below safe standards, have been shown to cause toxic permanent damage. Neurological damage can be permanent. Other symptoms include fatigue, skin rash, just like the others, and this is why testing is important, and headaches, which can become worse once mercury detoxification begins. But it's also a program that's focused on preventing the resorption of those toxins so that that downtime and those increased symptoms don't last. And that's very important. So having the right plan for detoxification is key to reducing symptoms, as seen in my Cleanse for Clarity program. And our final, well, second to final slide is about supplementing minerals. And now you've heard me say don't just go out running out there and buying every single jar of these minerals because it sounds like they have good beneficial effects. You might be good, you might be balanced, you might not need that, and taking an excess of that will bump the other mineral off into an imbalance. So you need testing first and then supplementation. So after the testing determines the need, supplementation specific nutraceuticals from your nutritionist, from your nutrition consultant, from your holistic healthcare or your naturopathic doctor will be prescribed. Supplementing for a limited time only is very important because all vitamin and supplemental recommendations should be discontinued at least after 3 months. If you're not returning to your provider that's helping you to manage these imbalances and remove toxicity, then you need to stop after 3 months, because you may have reached that balance. You might be there, and any more is going to tip into another type of imbalance, and you'll be dealing with that later. So it's very important to stop after 3 months, and that's my 3-month rule right there, and I want you to know that it applies for minerals. And your needs will change, and your supplements that are needed might become inappropriate for your changing metabolism as it responds to a new dietary approach. After 3 months, between 3 and 6 months, as we determine together, you'll get another hair mineral analysis test. And this will confirm the further need for supplementation or any further new needs for supplementation that you may need. So, another important thing is never do a detox on your own. Detoxification smoothies, detoxing diets, these are all really great, but if they don't focus on removing the possibility of resorption, the body actually excretes it into the gut most of the time and reabsorbs it through the gut. So it's of no use. You'll have symptoms that can last for months, even years. And a girl just the other day told me that she had detoxification symptoms last for a full year when she tried to do it on her own. And I think that is completely inappropriate. I haven't had it last for more than 4 days. And I haven't had anyone following my program have it last for more than 7 days. I'm pretty happy about that. And I have yet to see somebody continuously go on and on for months, but the chance is always there. But I do have this program that I have created through all of my years of knowledge and training through holistic nutrition and through my own personal focus. And I was a hobbyist, a nutraceutical herbalist by hobby since age 19, so now it's been 20 years. So if you suspect toxicity, number one, get tested. And when the body is toxic, your nervous system might be the first warning sign that you might be able to even tell. You might not know that it's toxicity, it's just brain fog and you're wondering what's going on. So give it time. Once you start the detoxification process, working with a professional, preventing reabsorption, give it time, but it needs to be precisely done. It needs to be done for your own individual needs, and it needs to be somebody who's going to consider everything and look at the tests, interpret them properly. So if your doctor says, oh no, hair mineral analysis doesn't tell me anything, what he's saying is, I don't have the skills to interpret that test. Please go see someone else. And the National Association of Nutrition Providers does have a listing of nutrition providers in your area. I also offer online support, so I can coach you from home. And there's many ways of supporting the elimination and blocking further absorption using supportive herbs, foods, supplements, and approaches to speed the elimination. And it's really a matter of taking it easy, going slow, and preventing resorption. We're not so focused on just one thing because there's no cookie cutter approach. I can't say what's going to work until I see the test results. So thank you for watching. This is the end of the video, and I hope that you will consider, if you've had any of these symptoms, visit my website at hunternutrition.com. That's hunter-nutrition.com. There's no www in front of it. And sign up for my mailing list, because when my next video is released, I will give you that video automatically when you're signed up. That's simple. Free. And my next video, hopefully, I'm going to be putting together something on the reasons why you would want to have other testing, such as, well, I don't want to give you any spoilers, but there's about 3 other tests that you can do if heavy metal toxicity is not something that you have and you're still experiencing brain fog. There's other toxins out there. Metals and minerals are just 2 of a couple handfuls or a basketful of toxins that you could be experiencing brain fog from. And that's why we uncover what's really at the root core of the causes. Thank you so much.